everybody. My name is Dwayne.
And I'm Tom.
And this is
Our Recovery Life.
Topic.
Topic today is going to be responsibility, Dwayne.
I want no part of that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
What, speaking of responsibility, what did that look like in the beginning for you?
Well, the beginning of the end?
Yes.
Yeah. I had no responsibilities. I had pretty much burnt all those bridges. Nothing to be responsible for. I didn't want to take responsibility for anything that I did. Everything was everybody else's fault. I was a victim of circumstance.
Yes.
You know, like, why me? Why does this always happen to me? Why? You know, why? You know,
Yeah.
my own little pity party. And I thought I had gone past the point of return. So,
Yes.
you know, like, there was no responsibility. And when I first got clean, the only thing I was responsible for was staying clean. You know, I lived in a basement. You know, I just didn't have a job. I was just starting over. So I really didn't, that was all. I was just responsible for staying clean. And that's
That was enough.
that was my first responsibility. How about you when you strolled out of prison?
When I first started, I can't agree more. Responsibility during use, it was just non-existent. My only responsibility was to keep going and to stay far away from getting clean as possible. Like
Right.
I wanted nothing to do with it. It was all everyone else's fault. As I got into recovery in the very, very beginning, responsibility was, to me, the pendulum swung the other way, and I was so, the best word to say it is just overwhelmed with all the responsibility that I had of all the damage I did.
Oh, right.
So the feelings and, you know, how hard they are and how raw they are in the beginning, I look back and I felt this immense responsibility of, look at what I did, and how do I ever even deal with this? You know, how do I deal with this? How do I, take responsibility for all that stuff? And luckily, I had some wise people around me that, you know, today you have to be responsible for staying clean.
Right.
All that stuff will wash out in the end. All your past wreckage, we have a formula to deal with all of that. But today, you know, one responsibility is to stay clean. And so, in the beginning, yeah, the pendulum swung way too far the way, and I think my addict wanted it that way, because then it was overwhelming, and you know
Right.
you know, the feelings too much past wreckage. I've hurt too many people. Just run, and that's why they kept saying, just come back. You know, keep putting your butt back in the seat, and everything will settle down. And they're right. That pendulum did come back to kind of the middle where I can look back at my past and see that there's a lot of responsibility I have to take. You know, I have to take a lot of responsibility for things I did.
Right.
You know, how does that look like now as far as, you know, responsibility?
Well, it's come a long way, you know, from when I first got clean and my only responsibility was to stay clean.
Yes.
Then it was...
And that was enough. That was like a lot.
Oh, that was a lot. That consumed me
Yeah.
completely, you know, because I had come just out of using drugs all the time.
Yeah.
So that consumed me. So, yeah, slowly, you know, I got a job, so then I had to be responsible to show up for work. And
Every day?
Every day.
Oh, man.
Well, I had some days off. I mean, that helps. But, and it wasn't the, you know, highest paying job ever, but it got me started again.
Yes.
And so then the responsibilities just slowly, you know, kept coming. Fast forward, now I have a ton of responsibilities. And
Yay!
Yay! Yeah. And, you know, like, I'm married now. I have 4 kids to take care of. I have, you know, the house, the cars,
Yeah.
all the responsibility financially. I
Stuff
also
we prayed for.
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What was I thinking?
Right. Well, and then there was a point in there too where I'm like, okay, nope, that's enough. Like, this is too much, too
Yeah.
quick. Like, I wanted to start giving back responsibility.
Yes.
Like, I can't. This is just too much. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, now I'm trying to find that, you know, balance. because, I didn't pay bills before. I pay this much of a bill to kind of keep them off my back or keep the lights on so I could
That's
get
it.
some. Eventually the lights went out. I mean, the whole thing crashed, but that whole just learning how to be responsible. It's a learning thing, and
For sure.
it's a lot of change. And you always want to, when you get flustered, you always want to go back to what you're used to.
Yeah.
And so responsibility is a big step, but it needs to be taken if you want to grow. I mean,
100%.
you can just be abstinent and a total mess, but you need change, and you need to be responsible. And I think that that helps you become a productive member of society.
Yes.
So
I think for me, the getting responsible and starting to take responsibility, I being completely honest, I knew none of it in the beginning. I was so overwhelmed with the whole just paying bills and just doing things, and so I told someone just to, how do I do this? And I was just asking so many questions in one of my meetings, and they said, what you got to do is just keep coming back, put your butt in this chair, listen, and pick someone that has the things you want, and just mimic. Start
Right.
assimilating to how. And so I did that, and that really was the groundwork for me of learning all of those things, like paying bills, showing work on time, just all of those things.
showing up at work at all.
Correct. And it's all taken care of itself, but it started with just the mimicking and taking little steps, and that's what I needed. It's like a muscle. You have to really work at it because and it all goes back to the biggest thing we're responsible for is staying clean. Like that always has to stay on top, and that's kind of when my life gets a little crazy. And I don't know if you can attest this or not, but when my life gets crazy, that's usually when things start creeping up above my
Right.
recovery,
Yep.
and that's when everything gets out of whack. And go back to the basics. Take responsibility. Number one, first and foremost, where's my recovery sitting? Where am I sitting
Right.
with that? Things usually shake out. How about some tips? Tips you have for someone that's new in recovery. How do I do this? How do I even start taking responsibility for this? It's so overwhelming. You remember that feeling?
Oh yeah, I think if I could tell myself something,
Yes.
when I first got into recovery about responsibility, first stop playing the victim. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like change all those why me, why this, why to how
Yes.
or what. What can
agree.
I do to get out of this? How can I do? And just little baby steps.
Yes.
And start there and find, like you said, find somebody that's done it or that's doing it. Especially financially, because
yeah.
that's a big one. Like
That's huge.
you had a whole ton of money, and then 20 minutes later you had no money, and then
Yeah.
3 hours later you had no dope, and then now all of a sudden you got to get more. It's just
Yeah.
a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So, to learn how to actually use money
Yes.
and not have it be a problem, which, I mean, I'm not completely there, but
I'm
at
working on it,
least,
too.
back in the day, I couldn't, be chewing my fingernails every time I wanted to get a loan or
Yeah.
apply for something, or I don't have to do that anymore. And that's another big responsibility because, I want a new truck. I would really like a new truck.
I know a guy.
Yeah, and I know a guy that I would probably get the truck from. You'd like him, but I
Again,
know
that-
I could get the truck, but I know it'd be completely irresponsible.
Yep.
It wouldn't fit into my budget. It would put stress on my family. It would, that. That is not that important.
Gotcha.
So I'll just be kicking it in the minivan that's paid for until
We'll get there.
until I get there.
And I agree. If I could say anything to my younger self about responsibility, it would be humble yourself, no victim, like you said, and start small. It's baby steps, just small, especially with the money thing, because I think when you're in active addiction, that money piece is so, a lot of people struggle with that. Just sit down with someone, put it all in front of you. You have to be able to look at it all and just, just start small and find someone that can help you. And then I think in that step, there's a ton of humbling yourself enough to say, I don't have this. How do I do this? And another thing I would tell myself is, just keep recovery first.
Absolutely.
Keep that first and keep learning, and it'll all fall into place because everything is overwhelming coming back, from a relapse or just coming back, into recovery. So on that note, some thanks.
Yeah.
We've had a ton of comments, a lot of participation on our Recovery Life Facebook page.
Yeah, keep sharing.
And with on that note, keep it clean.
Fight the good fight.